Hello and welcome to Wisdom Bites. Hope you're well. Thank you once again for joining us. Very much appreciated. And in today's video, we're going to be covering two aspects. We're going to be doing a little bit of the Wisdom Bites section and covering one of the most important topics in the history of personal development. And in the Bitcoin analysis, I'm going to be covering something that I've just noticed on one of the indicators, and that is that this breakout is the first breakout we've had and what that really means for the Bitcoin price going forward. So I'll be running down the normal time frames from the monthly, the weekly and the daily, as well as giving a little bit of the micro analysis exactly where we are in terms of the candlestick formations. But before I do that, just the usual polite reminder, please remember everything in my videos is for educational purposes. Nothing should be taken as financial advice. Please do your wider research before you make any investment decisions. So with that out of the way, I'm going to start off with a personal development topic that is the greatest topic in terms of determining your success and failure. And I did a video on this specifically for about 20 minutes back in August 2021 when I called it the magic word. The word that changes the world for you. And that magic word was the difference between success and failure, happiness and misery, contentment and unfulfillment, fulfilling your potential or being left with regrets in your life. And that word was called attitude. And the reason why I want to cover this is that just in the last few weeks, I've come across a number of people who have made me realize why those people will never be successful in life. In my day-to-day workings, I do come across quite a lot of people. I've just come across a few individuals where I've actually ended up having to give them some idea and say to them, please change your attitude before it's too late. And I've been trying to explain to them that it is the reason why 5% of the population do well while the 95% do not. It is the reason why we get hired for jobs and get promotions and while the others do not. It is the reason why people have friends and others do not. And it is the main reason why families break down, or it provides the glue that keeps them together. It is the main reason for divorces in this world. So it's a major item. It will determine your potential for personal development, acquiring new skills, new attributes, etc., etc. So having the right attitude will determine the results and the outcomes we get in life. And we must remember, attitude doesn't give a damn about your background, about your culture, about your religion, about your language, about your upbringing, etc., etc. No matter where you come from, if you have the right attitude, you will be successful no matter what. And on the contrary, if you have the wrong attitude, it doesn't matter what background, whether you've got a silver spoon in your mouth, whether you come from a very rich background. If you have the wrong attitude, you will be miserable and sad and depressed and unsuccessful in life. So the wrong attitude will mean lack of success, lack of happiness, and not realizing your true potential, and you will become one of the majority of the people in their 70s and 80s who will look back in life and say, where did I go wrong? So for me, the word attitude is the greatest power on earth. It is the greatest word you will need to be successful. And the beauty and the wonderful thing about it is that it is under your control. You have the power to control this. And that power is greater than all the fears, all the superstitions, all the education, all the upbringing, and all the poverty of your background put together. Attitude has the power to take possession of your mind and direct it to whatever ends, goals, objectives, and dreams that you desire. Let me say that one more time because it is probably the most important phrase that you will hear, not just today, this week, or next month. It is the most important phrase you will hear in your life. That's why I need to say it one more time. Attitude has the power to take possession of your mind and direct it to whatever ends, goals, objectives, and dreams that you desire. And what I'm going to do in my next video is I'm going to go into detail about why our attitude towards life will determine life's attitude towards us. Okay, so let's go into the Bitcoin analysis. I'm going to cover a little bit of the strategy that I use when I'm trading. Now, that doesn't mean that this is the right strategy or the best strategy. It just means it's unique to me. So everybody I know has a different type of strategy. They have a different characteristic of how they actually deal with trades. There isn't a right and wrong answer, and I just wanted to share my perspective of my strategy. If you find value in it, then fine. If you don't, then just ignore it. It's okay. And just keep to your own strategies and how you deal with everything. Okay, so let's start off with the overall picture so we can just set the scene here. So we started off with the 69,000 top over here. We've had this dominant downward trend that we've been mentioning many times. And recently, as we know, we bottomed out at the 32,900. From there on, what we've done is we've made a series of higher lows from there to there to there to there. So that's telling us that there is a rising demand in the market. There is a pickup of momentum in the market. And now recently, from this high here, we made a new higher high. So now the market has got an upward trajectory. And as I've showed you in the last many videos now, we had this symmetrical triangle here, and we were waiting for it to break out from this apex here. And obviously, as you can see, it broke out to the upside, as we were expecting. Now, my strategy was that when the market came down to here, I was waiting for another pullback, either to these levels or lower. That was my trading plan, waiting for that final flush before the big rally. And as you know from the many videos you may have watched now, that I was waiting for a big rally, which is now what we're actually in the middle of at the moment. So when this market started to go up here, I was still waiting here for a pullback, either down to these levels or further down. And we got it down to this level here, but there was definitely a lot of potential for it to come back down further. But what it did do was it created a higher low from this point here. And that was the first sign that this coiling action that we had here, coiling into this symmetrical triangle, was going to break to the upside. While the price didn't come back to where I wanted it to, what it did do was give me extra added information that the momentum at this point here is getting more and more to the upside, and that there is an increasing chance we're going to break to the upside rather than to the downside. And even when we got to the top of this trend line here, there was always the possibility, and with a good amount of probability, that we were going to come back and have one more flush to the downside. And when that didn't occur, that was an added amount of information that the market is giving you. So always remain neutral, always remain emotionally intelligent, never get stubborn in your view of the bias of the market. Always let the market tell you what it wants to tell you. So when the market was breaking out up here, it was giving us added information, first of all, that it wasn't going to have a fall down to give us a lower price to get back into, but at the same time, it was also telling us that the potential for the upside wasn't just going to be the 46,000. That was a clue that this was going to go much higher, to higher levels. And this is the reason why I got into a trade here at 42,100. And as I've mentioned many times in my previous videos, when it goes above the 46,000, I will take the next step, which is to go overweight, which is what I am now. And now it's just a case of waiting to see if your narrative, the plan that you had from the trade that you put in around here, if that narrative is going to play out or not. And in 60 to 70% of trades, it should play out. Sometimes it's only 50%. And my price target is in this region here, between $56,000 and $58,000 mark here. And I just want to share my perspective of my trading. Please remember, just take from it what you can. And if you find no value, then it doesn't matter. Because for me, one of the key principles of trading is that you have to be able to be flexible and not carry a bias on which you become stubborn on. Otherwise, you'll be left behind. And I know many people who are waiting for a pullback here, didn't come, so they just refused to get on board. For me, that's just not my way of trading. So while I expected a pullback, it didn't come. Therefore, you don't become stubborn on that pullback bias. Instead, let the market decide your bias. Therefore, I entered my positions here. Yes, it was higher than I wanted to, of course. The market was changing, but also the change in the market structure here meant to me that there was much further to go than this level here. So while if the market had come back down to these levels, the potential was possibly just to get to about 46,000. However, the change in market structure here told me that the potential now is to higher levels. So for me, all is well that ends well. And if it ends here, then everything will be well. So what I've learned is that when the market changes its bias and the market structure, which happens very often, more often than you might want to think, then we as traders have to recognize that as soon as possible and then adapt to it. And now having gone into the positions here and here, it's all about managing the risk. As we're going up, we have to manage the downside just in case if that happens, while at the same time being exposed to the upside. So let's run down the time frames and see what's happening there. The first thing I want to show you is this here. that for the first time since 5-6 months ago, we've actually now gone above this channel here called the Keltner channel. Now I only use this on the odd occasion because most of the time, as you can see, the price is usually weaving in and out of this. It's very rare that it falls out of this channel, and it takes many weeks and months before it does that. And for the first time in 6 months, it's actually now gone above this channel for the first time. And the last time it did that was when we had this run up here back in October. And that was part of this big run up that we had up to $64,000 mark. And the previous time that it did this was when we were in this rally here, back in July 2021. And if you go further back, you'll see that every time we go above it, it's usually part of a bigger rally. So the higher probability is that we're part of a larger uptrend here. That's going to take us to higher levels. So this is really a bullish sign that I can see, and I just wanted to share that with you. So looking on the monthly chart, as you can see, we're still above the 8 EMA here, which is at 45,000. So we've only got today and tomorrow to last until we see the end of this candle here. And if we did close above it, it does bring in new money into the market, because there are people who just look on the monthly chart, and when they see any bullishness like this here, i.e. a candle closing above the 8 EMA, then they will then dive into the market. So bringing new money into the market and increasing the momentum. And again, on the weekly chart, similar story here. We've now had 2 weeks of closes above the 8 EMA, which is the blue line here. And then last week, we got a close above the 21 weekly exponential moving average. And again, that brings in more new money into the market, more momentum and more upside potential. So on the monthly and the weekly chart, it's all looking very, very bullish because we're above the main indicators here. And if we have a look at the Bollinger Bands, they're telling us a story here. If you look on the weekly chart, you can see quite clearly that we're some way off the top of the Bollinger Band here. So there's plenty of room to grow. And the top of the Bollinger Band is at 57,000. So as the price moves higher, the Bollinger Bands will start to move higher as well. So we could quite easily get to 58,000. And this is one of the reasons why my target is about 56 to 58,000. And the reason why this is actually very relevant is if you look through the history, you'll see that we do tend to go to the top of the band and then to the bottom of the band and then back towards the top of the band. So this is where we're heading currently at the moment. And further back, you can see we went to the bottom of the bands there before we went to the top of the bands here. And further back, we spent a lot of time in the bull market as we were going up towards the 64,000 above this band here. But we're no longer in this bull market, unfortunately, and I don't think we're going to get this kind of a effect. So let's wait and see. Certainly a lot of room to grow in the next few weeks. However, as we must always look for the downside risk as well, if the price does reverse for whatever reason, then this will have been a trap. And if it's a trap, then we will have to respond accordingly. The main thing is to be absolutely aware of all the possibilities to the upside and the downside. And for me, a fall below 46,000 would be concerning, but a level below 42.5 is where I would start going underweight to protect the downside. But until then, I'll ride this as far as I can. So my overall view in terms of going forward is that we're going to meet this 52,000 target and then go and actually top out at this level here between 56 and 58. After which I'm expecting a very big fall all the way down to possibly these levels here at 32,000. But we'll have to see how the price action develops all around here. Okay, so we'll leave it there. I hope you found some value in the video, and if you did, then please do remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And if you have any comments, questions or suggestions, leave them in the comments below. Until the next time, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.